he's linked to several longtime National Hockey League teammates, and as well as those that played against him. And one of those is Wayne Gretzky, the man that went on to break a lot of Gordie Howe's longtime records and all-time records. And Wayne joins us now. And first, give you the stage, Wayne, to offer your thoughts on the passing of Gordie Howe.
Oh, wow. I don't even know where to begin, because obviously it's a sad day for not only his family, but for the millions of fans that had an opportunity to see him play over the years, and for the thousands of people that got to shake his hand, to how nice and how humble he really was as a person. It's crazy how the world works, you know. In the last 7 days, we've lost two of the not only greatest athletes who ever lived, but two of the nicest people that you'd ever want to meet, that understood their responsibility for their sport and for what they believed in life. And Gordie Howe was truly a big impact in the hockey world as Muhammad Ali was to the boxing world. So it's just a crazy week. And as I said, athletes come along, and 10 years from now, there'll be another great hockey player and probably another great boxer. But we don't have people that replace people like Gordie Howe and Muhammad Ali, just real special men who happen to love their sport, that transcended life. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be able to say, and not too many kids get to say that their idol became a friend, and Gordie and I obviously became good friends.
You got the chance to meet him for the first time, I believe, when you were 10 at a sports banquet. Was that moment as awe-inspiring as the first time you got to skate with him, be on the ice with him?
Oh, it was probably more influential. I was 10 years old. I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to get a chance to meet Gordie Howe. Now, I was, listen, my whole life was around Gordie Howe. When you're a kid, you dream, and you have all these ambitions and goals, and you have idols, and Gordie was my idol. And sometimes when you meet your idol, it's not great. Everyone has bad days, and I remember my dad said to me, how was it meeting Gordie Howe? And I said, oh my God, he's bigger and better and nicer, and he was everything I ever imagined and more. Really a gentleman, and somebody who obviously had a huge impact on not only my life, but my entire family. He was great to my dad and my mom. He was kind to people who were around him. And my dad always says, if you ever look at Gordie Howe's signature, you can read exactly what it says. It says Gordie Howe. And he said, you know, if he can take the time to write a signature, each and every player or athlete in this day and age should be able to write the name properly and not scribble it. So obviously he was a big part of not only my life, but my entire family.
We just saw, Wayne, that famous picture from that banquet of you and Gordie, and he's got the stick around your throat, posing for it. What was going through your mind at that point?
I was so scared. Let me tell you, I was so nervous standing there beside him, thinking, oh my goodness. And ironically, I don't think I've ever told the story that it was sort of Gordie that orchestrated the picture, and he was the one that said, okay, kids, stand here, and I'm going to do this, and just look at the camera. And if he would have told me to jump in the pool with my suit on, I probably would have done that. So I was pretty enamored by him, but oh my goodness, it seems like that picture was taken yesterday. Obviously, I got to reenact the picture. I think in 1989, we to redo a picture of the two of us that was similar to that obviously didn't have the same impact as the first one, but gosh, I've been talking a lot today about Gordie, and I didn't really realize how many thousands of stories I have, from playing, going fishing with him, to playing in an all-star game with him, to watch. I can remember one time I went to watch his two boys play for Detroit Junior Red Wings against the Brantford Majors, which was a Tier 2 junior team in Brantford, and Gordie came to the game, and I purposely sat a row right in front of him. I think I stared at him throughout the whole game just to be able to marvel at him. But just a really special man. And I played in a charity golf tournament in the Greater Hartford Open. I played with Sammy Davis Jr., Gordie Howe, and Sam Snead. And somebody said to me, that Sam Snead, he can be a little bit testy and a little bit grumpy. And I was so nervous. I was a 19-year-old kid, and Gordie had invited me down to play in the tournament. And one of the guys who was there said, "Don't worry about that. Mr. Snead's a little intimidated by Gordie Howe." I remember thinking, I'm okay. I got Gordie with me. But I got so many stories. And, I was so fortunate to become friends with him over the years and how humble he was. And what was intriguing to me is how recognizable he was at a young age. We walked through an airport, and everybody knew Gordie Howe. And Gordie always would stop, and he was always in a suit and tie. He'd always sign autographs, always took pictures. Just really Canadian and a special man.
Wayne, there's no question that there's a deeper connection between players that carry the torch somewhat of being at the top of their game, and we see it in other sports as well. But when did you first realize that Gordie could be more than just, an acquaintance, and that the friendship could go deeper? And how often did you lean on that friendship when it came to certain things like advice?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got so many stories. I remember one time I just turned pro. I signed my contract in, I guess, June, and it was early July. We were at a charity dinner in Kitchener, Ontario. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My dad and I went, and Gus Bedelli had arranged for me to be part of the event, although I didn't have to speak. Gordon came in this nice black limousine, and I remember thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. And so anyway, we did the dinner, and Gordie and I chatted, and the only thing he told me that night is, now you've signed, you got to work even that much harder. And as we were pulling out there, my dad had this old car, and it wouldn't start. And Gordie came walking out, and he said, "Kid, the first thing you do when you turn pro is you got to buy your mom and dad a new car." So then, the next day I went and bought my dad a car. So, he was always comfortable with people. He loved people. I remember there was a gentleman in Edmonton named Mick Ma who owned part of the Edmonton Oil Kings in the 70s, and he owned a Chinese restaurant, the Blue Willow. And every time Gordie would go to Edmonton, he'd always go there for dinner to sit and talk to Vic and his wife, Esther. He never was going to the restaurant because when you became a friend of Gordie's, you were a friend for life. I was saying earlier, some parts of the game have changed a little bit. And one of the things that's changed is the relationship between the athletes and the media. And you look at time and time again, over the years, Gordie was good friends with, Danny Gallivan and Dicker and Frank Orr from the Toronto Star and Bill Falls from the Detroit Free Press and Dick Beddoes in Hamilton. He went fishing with those guys. He spent time with those guys. They truly were friends with Gordie. And so it was almost kind of like the Republicans and the Democrats. You got to reach across the aisle and become friends. And that's what Gordie did. He had that ability to be friends with everyone, whether you're a player or a reporter, a writer, a young kid. He was a special man.
What was it like when he traveled with you when you were about to break his record? And it could have been 3 days or it could have been 3 months. And that trip.
It was really embarrassing because, by that time, Gordie and I had become good friends. And part of me didn't want to break the record because I knew in my heart that the game had changed. What he amassed and what he accomplished in his career was a completely different era. We were obviously a more offensive era, and we had a 21-team league. He was mostly in a 6-team league. So I was the one who realized it more than maybe even other people. And what he's accomplished is probably more special than what I had done. So in some ways, I was a little bit embarrassed. And I remember saying to my dad in one of the games before we went to the rink, I was like, geez, I'm a little bit embarrassed here because, some part of me doesn't want to break Gordie's record. And I remember my dad saying, you know you're a good person is when you genuinely cheer for the other guy. And my dad said to me, Gordie Howe genuinely is cheering for you. He said that really doesn't matter a whole lot. What matters is that you understand and learn from him. So when someone comes along to break your record, that you have the same genuine feeling for that young man as that Gordie Howe has for you. And so, those are sort of the special things that I always remember.
Wayne, I'm really proud that when people speak of hockey players amongst other athletes, we always have there seems to be an appreciation for the humbleness of a hockey player. Did Gordie start that for us?
He was part of it, no question. Beliveau, Gordie, Bobby Orr, Mario, Messier. I mean, Bobby Hull. I can remember walking in the Northern locker room in 1980 and going through there saying, Bobby Orr would never do that, or Gordie Howe would never say that. It was just a pecking order that sort of went down, and you sort of followed that. And if you didn't, you didn't have the same respect from the other players in the league as that you might think you do. And that's what makes our game so special, that we had guys like Bobby Orr and Paul Coffey and Messier and Mario Lemieux, and now the guys like Osby, and of course Connor McDavid is the future. So the one thing they all have in common, they're good people. They're nice to fans. They're good to people. They're great to their families, and they happen to be pretty special athletes, and that's pretty unique.
Did your idol ever give you an elbow or a slash?
Oh yeah, and I was saying earlier this morning, my first game I played against him, I was so excited. I was playing for the Indianapolis Racers, and he was playing on the New England Sailors, and he was winking at me the whole warm-up. The first couple shifts, I remember I stole the puck from him, and I was so excited. I was skating the other way, and all of a sudden this big stick just came slashing down on my thumb. I thought I broke my thumb. And he took the puck from me, and he said, "Kid, don't ever take the puck from me." I said, "Well, that's never going to happen again." I remember I was sitting in the locker room. Gary Smith was an old goaltender. I was playing with the Indianapolis Racers, and I said, "Sweetie, I don't understand what just happened." I said, "He winked at me the whole warm-up." He said, "Wayne, he's not winking. He's got a blinking problem." I said, "Well, why didn't you tell me that before the game started?"
How about that story from your first All-Star game, sitting beside Gordie in the dressing room before the game?
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable because I went to we played a 3-game series against the Moscow Dynamo, and Jacques Demers was the coach, and I was picked on the team, and probably part of the reason I was picked because the games were in Edmonton. So I didn't anticipate to play one shift, and I would have been thrilled just to be part of it. And I walked in the morning skate the first day, and Jacques Demers said, "Kid, you're going to center Mark Howe and the old man." And I remember thinking, well, there's only one old man. And I said, I'm going to center Gordie and Mark Howe. And I remember thinking, oh, my Lord, I was so scared. And so the morning skate, they wanted to do some pictures. And we got a picture taken of Gordie and I at center ice, which turned out to be a great picture, one I'm really proud of. And actually, I have it home. But I said, Gordie, my sweater's too big. I said, I look like a baby here. I look like I'm 14 years old. And he said, I'll fix it. And he took a needle and thread and he sewed my sweater on one side so it wasn't so big. And I remember thinking, here I am. I said, this guy reminds me of my mom fixing the hockey equipment. Gordie Howe sewing my jersey for the game. So I still have the jersey, and I show people all the time. I said, Gordie Howe sewed this, which was pretty remarkable.
That's unbelievable. We really appreciate your time. I know it's a difficult day for a lot of the hockey world, but especially for you, Wayne.
Well, listen, it's nice to talk about him because, as I've said, he's a great man. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Wayne. Wayne Gretzky chatting with us about the career of Gordie Howe.